Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk, Wednesday, December 1st, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen, and that is the waving Omaha Joe Stanton in a new spot, Omaha Joe. But before we get to that, I got to start with your thumbnail for this matchup between the Cowboys and the Saints on Thursday night. Taysom Hill is going to be under center for New Orleans, and he looks like he's ready to go in that thumbnail that you created. He's ready to play without even a helmet.
Right. Got to give love to the Saints' newest quarterback. Taking over the helm this week. Yeah, gotta love it. Got to give the shout out to he's been banged up all year. First start of the season. It's gonna be exciting. I mean, he's gonna be an electric player. In week 13. So here we are.
Yeah, big story for week 13, and we're going to get into his history and evaluate that.
Right.
But yeah, you're the man on the move here. Always a different background.
Yeah.
And you tell me that next week is going to be another different one.
Well, I didn't want to give away too much, but yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to get ahead of ourselves, but
yeah,
that's the inside scoop.
Inside scoop is we got a new background next week. I like to keep everyone on their toes. Those crazy fans, they always know where you're headed. So I had to relocate for this one.
Oh, you're one step ahead of them. So I will not reveal your location, your likely location for next week.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it was good. It was good Thanksgiving, Andrew. I know you had a good one over with Crash doing the podcast. We provided some great single game lineups for the Lions and Bears games. Even with Swift and Montgomery going out, we had some really big wins over there. And an overall good Thanksgiving hybrid as well over on FanDuel. So I'm looking forward to carrying over the success what we had going on last week between you two.
All right, I'm game. And it's only one game to deal with on this Thursday. We're back to the normal schedule here. The Cowboys on the road, favored by 4.5. Total here, 47.5. And you're going to break down the Cowboys side for us. So kick it off for us over there.
Yeah, let's do it. So Saints Cowboys, both teams lost last Thursday night on Thanksgiving. So a couple losers coming through, and the Cowboys have lost 3 of their last 4 games. And they've got, surprisingly, the Washington football team right on their heels for the division. So this is an urgent, needed win for the Dallas Cowboys. They're hungry. They're pissed. And I expect Dak Prescott to be coming out absolutely firing for this one. He had a great game. He threw for 375 yards and 2 touchdowns versus the Raiders. And he looked really solid. It wasn't enough. Derek Carr kept up with him there. But the Saints overall, they have not been good to opposing quarterbacks. Over the last 5 games, Josh Allen and Tom Brady both had 4 touchdowns. Hurts ran for 3 touchdowns. Tannehill had a touchdown and a running touchdown, and Matt Ryan had 2 pass touchdowns and a running touchdown for himself. So over the last 5, the Saints just haven't been there for quarterbacks. Dak Prescott can do it in the air and on the legs a little bit. I mean, 3 of those 5 quarterbacks ran for a touchdown there versus the Saints. So, Prescott could get in the end zone with his legs as well. So I really like Dak Prescott in this game. I like the passing game for the Cowboys, which I'll get into. But yeah, I'm really bullish on Dak Prescott being my captain in most of my lineups, especially on FanDuel, where the price, doesn't change for a captain spot. So I'm really liking Dak Prescott. Andrew, what do you think?
I do too. And that glowing review has me even more excited because New Orleans has struggled against these quarterbacks and just going in the wrong direction against Allen and company on Thanksgiving. And with the pricing, that is a key piece here. We're going to get into it as we go throughout the slate. And that will allow Dak to be in probably most of my lineups. Not sure he's going to be my captain all the way across the board, but he is a strong candidate.
Absolutely. And we'll get into some pricing differences later. FanDuel really botched this one, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. These pass catchers for Dallas, you have CeeDee Lamb coming back. Amari Cooper just got activated from the COVID-19 list. And Michael Gallup still there. Cedric Wilson had an injury in that last game, so he won't be on the field here. Gallup actually had the big game while Lamb and Cooper were out. He had 5 receptions for 106 yards versus the Raiders on some long balls, and that's kind of almost what we expected out of Gallup. We were all on him. So I like both Lamb and Cooper here to play. I would probably favor CeeDee Lamb a little bit more, mainly because I think he's going to have an easier game in the slot versus the Saints. where Amari Cooper is going to be lining up on the outside versus Lattimore. CeeDee Lamb's going to see more of Williams, and I just like that matchup better. But I think both wide receivers are in play. Michael Gallup is also in play. I think he's sneaky GPP. I think there's going to be a lot of chalky lineups out there. So Gallup definitely lets you get different. And then I like Schultz as well. Schultz, he has the third best target share on the team. Dawson Knox had 2 touchdowns versus the Saints team last week. Of course, Dawson Knox only did on 3 targets, so it wasn't a ton of volume. But Schultz also had a touchdown versus the Raiders on Thanksgiving. He almost had another touchdown. He was targeted in the end zone pretty frequently, given the wide receivers are out. But, just across the board, I really like the pass catchers here for the Cowboys, and I'm going to be all on it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very similar here. I like the matchup for Lamb. He is more expensive than Cooper, but I'd rather go there. And I think Gallup is the GPP option as opposed to how popular he was on Thanksgiving with everybody healthy. And Schultz, like you said, popular target consistently and in the red zone.
Right.
So he's also in play for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm missing the other tight end, Sean McKeon.
Sean McKeon, yeah.
Sean McKeon. Yeah, he had the touchdown last game. He's had a reception in the last 4 games. So that's really decent. Of course, he's taking over for an injured Blake Jarwin. Probably not in play for me, but, it's definitely nice to note that he's a part of the offense, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, if you want to talk about getting different,
Right.
but and he is extremely cheap, but with the pricing we'll talk about on the New Orleans side, just you don't really need to go there.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So love Lamb. Cooper is in play. Schultz is in play, and I think Gallup's a good GPP. So if we're going to go over to the running backs here, we have Ezekiel Elliott and Pollard.
Yes, we do.
For the Cowboys. And Jerry Jones just came out and said Elliott is going to have a serious workload in this game. And Andrew, do you know what I think of that? I think
what?
I think it's a bunch of smoke. I don't think it holds any weight for me, dude. Pollard, is it Pollard? Pollard. He has been just outperforming Elliott. He has been doing so much more with the touches.
He's fast.
Yeah, quick. He's been better in average yards per game, better in average yards over expected. He's pushing the pile. He just looks really good. And granted, Elliott's had the bruised knee, or that injury that he's been battling since week 4. And just last week, they were talking about sitting Ezekiel Elliott to week 14 to give him a rest. And now they're saying he's going to have a serious workload. And I think that might have just come from locker room chat, Mike McCarthy getting COVID, and Jerry Jones is saying, I'm going to make a splash in the media. I don't know. I think Pollard is a really good play, or at least I prefer him better than Ezekiel Elliott. I still like the pass catchers more. I would say Pollard's more in play than Elliott. I'm going to fade Elliott. So yeah, out of the two, that's where I give the edge. I don't know if he's necessarily going to make my lineups though, Andrew. I don't know where you're there. I know we're similar on the Pollard versus Elliott debate, but do you think Pollard will get into some of your lineups?
Maybe on DraftKings where you have to go with 6 players because it's going to be easier to afford 5 guys. I think that I like a little bit more on FanDuel. And we should mention that the overall matchup is not good for these running backs. New Orleans has given up the fewest fantasy points on the season to that position. And it's because what you've been talking about, you like the passing game so much because teams have success against New Orleans passing it, and they don't run it, and it's hard to run it anyway. So it's the old cycle that continues on. But Pollard does look better than Zeke. You can tell even with Zeke, some of those routes that he went out, he would kind of limp and jog and not go 100%. You can tell he's just not 100%, so he can't go 100%. So I think this probably is a bit of smoke. And, that's one of the big things about DFS. You have to follow these front offices, the owners, the coaches over a long period of time and get a sense of which ones will, speak straight to the media and give you some actual strategy versus those who what they say could be accurate, maybe not. Maybe it's a complete smokescreen. So this one, that's not convincing to me. I'm not looking at Zeke to get 18 carries. I just don't think it's going to happen. So
I mean, if anything, it helps us out. It draws ownership to Ezekiel Elliott. Opens up more for the pass catchers of less ownership. You make a great point. The Saints have given up the least amount of points to running backs over fantasy points. So yeah, definitely the pass catchers. If anything, it helps our DFS lines from an ownership perspective.
Yeah, and for the cash lineups for sure. I guess the GPP lineup, maybe he is somebody to consider because it's not a good matchup. Everybody sees that he's not healthy, but maybe with another week under his belt, that would be the flip where all of a sudden they get a turnover, inside the 10, and he punches one in or punches a couple in. We know he can score. He can get to that end zone as well as almost anybody. So he's got the potential if he's 1 week healthier.
Yeah, I mean, our presenting sponsor and where we get our stats from, PFF, they do give us ownership projections. So I will be very interested to see where Ezekiel Elliott falls on that for ownership projections, and that will definitely dictate where I'm going with my lineup.
Yeah. So, and we'll share some of that information with our members, of course, in Discord. If you want to take advantage of that, dfscoachtalk.com to sign up. Joe, you want to talk about any deals or offers or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a 3-day membership for $10, 5-day membership for $19. You can actually see that coming on the bottom of the screen right now. But we have a lot of different membership options from year-long, all the way through. And what that gets you is you get access to our Discord. You'll get a membership to all sports, NFL, PGA, MLB, NBA. You get full FanDuel lineups, Yahoo lineups, a DraftKings clipboard. And then you just get to chat with us, and the rest of our family, asking questions about DFS, talking sports. I was just chatting Denver Nuggets with a community member. So it's just been great. It's a great community. We would love to have you join. And of course, go follow us on Twitter as well at DFS Coach Talk. We just did a contest for an NBA podcast that if you interacted with that video, you got entered to win a free week membership. So we do stuff like that all the time. We like to give out, plays and values that we like and little insights. So, definitely go check out dfscoachtalk.com. Follow us at DFS Coach Talk on Twitter. And of course, leave a like and a comment on this video because, we're on YouTube all the time as well. And we just love everyone being on board and interacting with the video. So
no doubt about it. All right, let's go to the second side here, the Saints. And, they are really struggling here. They lost 4 straight, so they've gone ahead and made the move. It's going to be Taysom Hill. And the other big news that just came across that you picked up on is that Kamara is doubtful. We are recording this on Wednesday night. So Joe saw a note indicating that it's very unlikely that he plays. So that's piece number 1 here of
big piece.
The pricing and the change to the slate, because now Ingram is much more in play and he's really cheap. On DraftKings, he's only 5,000. FanDuel 12,000. He's not priced like the guy who's been the lead running back.
No.
So it's like FanDuel, they were sure that that Kamara was going to play, so they kept Ingram's price low, and they didn't seem to know that Taysom Hill might start because he's only 7,000 on FanDuel.
Yeah,
which is the price of a regular backup quarterback, but he's starting. So to me, you have to lock him in.
They did not read the injury reports.
No.
I mean, Mark Ingram should have been 7K and Taysom Hill should have been 12K.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It was from NBC Sports. They said, insider knowledge and, a good source said that the whole locker room talk is very doubtful that Kamara is going to suit up for Thursday. The expectation is he's not going to play. Ingram's got full reps. So it's NBC Sports. It's reputable. They're definitely where I go for some information. So yeah, it's my thinking that Kamara is not going to suit up, and that changes the whole slate. And of course, FanDuel just had no idea what they were doing with pricing. I just don't know.
They set the prices late on Thanksgiving,
right,
while they were deep into their merriment, and they didn't update it over the weekend, perhaps.
Exactly.
Well, let's dig into Taysom Hill here because he was the big story in fantasy last year with his position eligibility and his performance. And the numbers that come away from that are, I think, overall positive. He started 4 games and he had 2 touchdowns per week, 4 of them rushing, 4 passing. He had a maximum passing output of 291 yards. His best rushing day as a starter was 83 yards. So he's got that ceiling as a passer or a runner. And I think we think of him more as just a runner or more of a runner. So I wanted to point out, that he did have a couple strong passing games, and he actually averaged 28 passes per game, and he ran it just under 10 times a game. So he will absolutely run it a bunch, but he's not afraid to throw it. Here's the big difference, though. Last year in those games, he had Michael Thomas, and so that was his security blanket. All those short passes did well, and they don't have anybody close to Michael Thomas now. But because of his price, especially on FanDuel, I think you lock him in no matter what. The question is on DraftKings at 9,600. What do you do with him? I think he's worthy of being a captain. You don't have to go there, but I think he's got the potential to get it done. And then if you want to pair him up with a receiver, this is the challenge because we don't have Michael Thomas here. We've got a bunch of guys that are really unproven, inconsistent, getting 4 to 5 targets a week. But Traequan Smith is the leader in the clubhouse for me at this point because he's been solid here lately, and he was the one other guy last year that Taysom Hill connected with. In one of those starts he had against Atlanta last year, Traequan had 3 catches for 42 and a touchdown. And then against Philly, he had 3 catches for 60. And this is with, again, Michael Thomas getting 8-9 catches a week in those games. So without Thomas, I do think Traequan's going to be the security blanket. Better matchup in the slot here against the Cowboys. But because it's so low volume generally with these receivers, I mean, one big play to Callaway or Harris or even Lil Jordan Humphrey, who got back in the mix against Buffalo, and that throws everything off. So it's a challenging situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I like what you had to say about Taysom Hill being more of a he is a passer and a rusher. He had a 96.9 passer rating last year. So really good, really solid. He completed 72% of his passes. Like you said, it was Michael Thomas. But even to that same note, I love what you had to say about Traequan Smith. I'll give an example of how comfortable these backup QBs are with their wide receivers. Cooper Rush, when he came in for the Cowboys, the week Dak was out, he had a great connection with Cedric Wilson for that game. And he actually, after the game, even before the game, he said, Cedric Wilson and I, we were on the practice squad together. We were coming up together. I'm familiar with him. And if you're going to come to a game like that, you want familiarity. So I agree with you. I really like Traequan Smith. He'd be the wide receiver I go to. He's getting the most targets. He plays out of the slot. Hunter Renfrow had a great game against the Cowboys out of the slot. So, yeah, I completely agree. I really like Taysom Hill for the passing upside and the rushing upside. And then Traequan Smith would be the wide receiver I'm going to go with, even though it's low volume. I really like that. That would be the receiver I would choose over Harris and Callaway.
Yep, agreed. I do think Callaway will see more digs on the outside. Harris is volatile. And again, Lil Jordan Humphrey, 3 catches on 5 targets against Buffalo to make this a quartet of options.
Right.
All very affordable. But Smith, the leader for me. And then we've got another low volume situation with the tight ends. Nick Vannett got in the end zone against Buffalo with 1 catch. Juwan Johnson was out there for 43% of the snaps, but wasn't targeted. And then with Hill's performance last year, he didn't target the tight ends too much. There was 1 week where I think he had 6 receptions or 6 completions to the tight ends, but most of the other weeks it was just 1 here, 2 there. Same thing with the running backs. Didn't target them a ton, but Kamara did get some catches. So he'll dump it down, and the short passes in general or what allowed him to get that high completion percentage that you're referencing.
Right.
But I'm not looking for a big game out of Vannett, Johnson. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out if Kamara is indeed out. But again, with the pricing, it really elevates Hill and Ingram for me on that New Orleans side.
Yeah, it absolutely elevates Ingram. I really like Mark Ingram. He went 16 carries for 88 yards versus the Eagles, 14 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown versus the Titans. So he's been really good as the lead back. I think Ingram is a great play over there on DraftKings. FanDuel, low expensive, but still a really solid option for the Saints. Between the tight ends, Vannett and Johnson, I agree with you there. Really low volume. The Cowboys have let up the 8th least amount of points to tight ends. Surprisingly, they let up 74 yards to Travis Kelce and a 60-yard game to Kyle Pitts. And Waller looked like he was going to have a good game as well. And those are just their last 3 games. So actually, I don't think they're really that strong against tight ends as they're projected out to be, or as you would see on paper, because all 3 of those tight ends really had some big games. Or were 2 of the 3 had a big game. 1 was projected to. But in this matchup, because it's such a low volume tight end core from the Saints, I don't want to go there. I wish it was something where I could feel a little better about it. Like, even give me like Mo Alley Cox or someone who I at least know is going to get a confident amount of targets in, but I'm not confident in Vannett or Johnson. So unfortunately, I'm not going to go there. Although I think it's a pretty sneaky place to go into GPP.
Yeah, and then to follow up on those running backs, if Kamara is out, we've got Ingram, of course, but then Ty Montgomery had a bunch of catches on Thanksgiving. He could be that GPP option, but again, not a great matchup here for the running backs against Dallas. 4th fewest fantasy points allowed there, and they don't give up many catches either. Since the first 2 weeks of the season, they did in those first 2 weeks, but since then, very little there. So it's not a great option for dump downs with Ingram and Montgomery.
Yeah, and the Cowboys are potentially getting Dexter Lawrence back off of injured reserve, which
DeMarcus Lawrence,
DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yep.
Possibility there for him to come back as well. So that doesn't really help the case either for these Saints running backs.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because both tackles are questionable for New Orleans. So it's going to be a tough challenge for New Orleans to transition here, especially if they don't have Kamara. If they're missing one or both of those tackles, we'll see. But looking forward to it. But before we wrap up, Joe, you got to tell us about the kickers here in this one.
Absolutely. So we have 2 ex-Cowboys kicking off. Current Cowboy, ex-Cowboy, and Brett Maher. Will Lutz is out for the Saints. Mayer didn't even attempt a field goal or any kick against the Bills. So he's coming in fresh. Maher, when he was in Dallas, he actually had a better accuracy percentage than Zuerlein by like 1%. But Maher ended up getting cut because he was missing these money kicks, like the ones inside the 30. But then he would hit like a 50-yarder or like a big kick. And Zuerlein, I have him on my season-long fantasy team. He has been missing like crazy. He missed the point after the touchdown on Thanksgiving. He missed a couple more field goals, more against the Chiefs. Zuerlein has been crazy inconsistent, and I know the Cowboys fans are frustrated with him as well. So with the Saints potentially playing from behind, not really getting into the end zone, and Mayer from deep, that's going to be the kicker I want to go with. I don't trust Zuerlein, and I actually think it really could go that way where you have some really long field goals out of Mayer, and it works out.
I like your description there. Your breakdown makes a lot of sense. Mayer does have the deep kick in him. He did prove that with Dallas, couple over 60,
right?
74% on his career. This one is pretty even to me. I do favor Dallas overall, so probably more opportunities for Zuerlein to score. But in New Orleans, will they be able to punch it in when they cross the 50? And Peyton is a guy, he will go for it on 4th. So, if it's 4th and 2, I think there's a good chance they go for it with Hill and they try to just keep, moving the sticks. And when they get that chance, go for 6 and leave it all on the line. But, maybe if he gets, end of the first half, he gets an opportunity for a long kick. Maybe he gets it done.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a couple times where Zerline hasn't even attempted a kick in a game either this season, just because the Cowboys went for it on 2. I think it was against the Chargers. Maybe someone can fact check that for me, but they went for the 4th down twice, and then they got so deep down in the game, they finally got a touchdown in the 4th quarter, went for the 2-point conversion. So it's not like Zerline's an automatic play for the Cowboys either. With Mike McCarthy out, I don't know what they're going to do, but Andrew, overall, this is the longest we've talked about kickers ever on a podcast, and I absolutely love it. So thanks for indulging me in a kicker conversation.
Oh, anytime. Let's do it again next week, actually.
Yeah, let's make it longer. We'll do a separate podcast on the kickers.
Yeah, that'll be DraftKings only with the 6 and whether you'd want to put him as your captain.
Right.
So, all right. Well, good stuff. Hope that got everybody ready to go here. Again, jump in with us with a membership if you want to get these lineups. Full lineups on FanDuel and Yahoo. A cash lineup, GPP lineup, core lineups on DraftKings for a GPP focus or a cash focus. Had a really great Monday night, by the way, with Washington and Seattle. So we're going to try to keep it running here. DFSCoachTalk.com if you want to sign up and check in with us over the weekend for the main slate podcast and the primetime podcast. And then NBA continues on 7 days a week. So stick with us on YouTube. We appreciate all your support. On behalf of Omaha Joe and the entire DFS Coach Talk team, I'm Andrew Hansen, and we'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.